AI, AI, AI. Anywhere you go, whoever you talk to, everywhere you are hearing the same word AI. Everyone has its own AI. Facebook has its AI, WhatsApp has its AI, Amazon has its own AI, even Snapchat has AI within it. So this guy AI can do anything. This AI can sing songs, this AI can make videos, can create film, it can do coding also. You tell me AI, if you are going to do coding, what will I do for roti and sabzi? Huh? Why do you want to do coding? So I do not want you to worry about AI taking away your job. So today let us see how we can make this AI become your assistant. You are going to become the boss. You will be the boss and AI is going to be your assistant. Let's talk how we can use one of these AI guys called GitHub Copilot, become your assistant and help you do not faster, efficient and quicker coding. So this assistant is going to help you become possibly best performer in meeting. Let us go and learn GitHub Copilot.
We are going to use VS Code to develop our application and also integrate with GitHub Copilot. Let us start with installing the relevant extensions. So you can search for GitHub chat and then install this right away. So once this is installed, you can also log in with your GitHub account to start using it within your VS Code. So you have to authorize this login so that you can directly use your VS Code GitHub access within your VS Code IDE. So once this is set up, you should be able to start using the chat. So here you see this option which says ask Copilot. You can just try a basic message. So this shows our GitHub Copilot integration is now done and it is ready to help us. So before we build our application, let me quickly show you what we are going to build and what we are going to learn. So we are going to build a web application which is going to act as a personal expense tracker. So it will have few functionalities, starting with letting you add new expense whatever you are incurring. It will allow you to update the expenses and also delete them if they are invalid. It will also have an option where you will be able to list all the expenses which you have made. So we are going to use Fast API framework of Python to build the backend, and we are going to use Streamlit library to build the front end or the web UI part. For storing all the data, we are going to use just a local file for simplicity. While ideally you may want to use a database, but for this demo, we are just going to use a local file storage. Now, with respect to GitHub Copilot, we are going to learn a lot of things which I have noted down here. So first is integrating with VS Code in itself, which we just saw how it can be done. Apart from this, I have listed down so many other things which you are going to learn as we build this application. So let's get started. I do not have any files or folders open as of now. Let us give instructions to GitHub Copilot itself to build our first web application. I'm gonna start with asking a Copilot to create a workspace for me. So I have given the context to the Copilot on what I'm trying to do, that we are trying to create a Python Fast API application, and I'm asking Copilot to create a workspace itself for us. As you can see, Copilot has come up with a complete workspace suggestion on what all different folders and files we should have. Let us accept the suggestion and say create workspace. It is asking where I should create. I will just choose this location. And if you navigate back here, you will see the folders coming up here very soon. So now the initial code template is ready for us to get started. Let us quickly have a look at what Copilot has created. So it has created a main application which has a hello world example. It has also created few other folders which we will slowly look into as we build this application. So now we know how we have to create a workspace using GitHub Copilot, and we have also already started using the chat window what Copilot offers. Whatever Copilot has created is a very basic application. It just says hello world, but we want to do a lot more. So we want to be able to perform all of these operations. Let us try giving this detail to the Copilot and see if it is able to help us do it. So I'm gonna go back to GitHub Copilot chat and say, so I'm asking Copilot to create a new API, that is a new endpoint, to create new expense, and it will store the data into local storage. So let us see what Copilot comes up with. So it is first basically coming up with the detail of how it is going to make this change. So it is giving in detail how this code change is going to work, and it is suggesting some changes in the main.py, and it is also creating a new router as expenses.py in the routers folder. So let me go ahead and accept the suggestions. Here you have this option, apply to main.py. Once you click this, the changes will automatically get applied to the main.py file. Here you will be able to see the changes and you can accept it by clicking on the tick button. Now the changes are done. Also there are more changes which have to be done to a new file which it is suggesting to create. So let me go ahead and apply this as well. So it has now created a new file with the changes required. Now as you can see, it is creating a file. It has a pedantic model. So we will, before we further look into this endpoint and start using it, let us modify the structure of the input which this API is going to accept. What I'm going to say, so I'm telling Copilot what all input fields I want to build this API. Let us see what changes it comes up with. Okay, now let us apply the changes what it has suggested and we can review it closely. So the changes have been made based on whatever inputs we have provided. Let us accept these changes. So here, as you can see, Copilot is expecting users to pass description, amount, date, category and status. It is also asking the users to pass something called ID as integer. Rather, I would want the API to create this ID instead of expecting from the users. Also, instead of in-memory storage, I wanted Copilot to use local file storage. I see Copilot has made a mistake. Now let us ask Copilot to fix it. So for fixing any issues, we can use this / command called /fix. So this will help Copilot understand that some code has to be fixed. Now let us ask it to make these changes. So I'm asking Copilot to generate the ID instead of taking it as an input. So now as I can see here, the changes have been made and ID is getting created in the code itself. Now let us accept this change. I also want one other change, that the expenses be stored in a file instead of in-memory storage. So let us wait for Copilot to build the code changes to store the expenses in a file. So now that you can see, it is now planning to create a JSON file which will have all the data, and correspondingly it has created more methods to basically read and write data to this JSON file. Let us look at the changes in further detail. So now we have an expenses file which is going to store all the expenses which we are tracking, and separate methods for reading and writing into this file. So this is our create expense endpoint which is now updated. So it is going to read the existing expenses and then it is going to update the new expense whatever we are adding. Let us make few more changes to this endpoint. So currently the code is all written into one py file instead of using proper code structuring. For example, the schemas could be stored inside the schemas directory and the APIs could be coded within this router, but currently Copilot has put everything into one file. Let us see if Copilot can restructure the code into various different files. So I am asking Copilot to restructure this file or the contents of this file to move the schema to appropriate directory, and also move this utils method into separate utils file. Let us see if Copilot is able to do that for us. So here it has come up with the updated project structure, where inside routers we will have expenses.py. We will also have a similar file within schema, and then we will have a utils as well, which will help us read and write data into our JSON file. So let us accept these changes. So here it has also summarized what all changes have been done. The schemas have been moved to a new file. Similarly, the utils have also been moved to a new file, and the router is now updated and it is really clean. There is not much junk code present inside this file. Now we have the first API ready, which will help us basically create expense and store into our database. But before we start using this application, we need to be able to set up our working environment so that the application could run with necessary libraries. So let us go back and take a look at the README file. So this README file, as you know, is again created by GitHub Copilot itself. One good thing what I have seen is whenever you create a repository or a workspace with Copilot, it also by default gives you really good setup instructions which you can use to set up your working environment and then run your application as well. So I am going to make use of whatever information Copilot has created for me. So first, as part of setup, it is asking me to clone the repository, which I need not do at this point of time because I already have the code in my local. Next, it is suggesting that I create a virtual environment. So let me open a terminal first. So I'm going to use the command what has been suggested. I'm going to create a virtual environment for myself. So we have created a virtual environment now. As you can see here, the virtual environment folder is getting created. So once it is created, we should then activate this virtual environment based on the script what has been suggested here. Okay, the virtual environment is in place. Let us now try to activate the virtual environment. Okay, currently there is some issues. Let us try switching over to command prompt mode and then let us try to run this. Yes, now as you can see our virtual environment is set up, and here as you can see we are inside our virtual environment now. Next thing is we have to install the necessary dependencies. As you can see currently in our code you see import errors. For example, it is not able to import fast API and other stuff because we have not installed any of the libraries. So Copilot has also created a requirements.txt file for us without us even asking for it. So here Copilot has mentioned few libraries what is going to be needed to run our application. So I'm going to accept all of these suggestions. I will go back to readme file. So I'm going to run this pip install command as suggested. So this will install all the required libraries which will help us run our application. So as I see, all the libraries are installed now. So let us try to start our application to see if it is working. It is having some issues where it is having an import error. Let us see if we can quickly fix it. Okay, it is saying from app.routers import router, but currently the paths were changed. It is currently inside app.routers.expense. Let us change it. So there is no API router which we require as of now. We can remove this. So the only router what we have is the expense router which we have declared here. So I have fixed the code. Now the application is restarting. Let us see if it works now. Okay, there is a different issue now that it says cannot import name expense from app.schema.expense. Now let us try to use GitHub Copilot to fix this issue. So whenever we use any commands from the command window, GitHub Copilot by default will use the current open file and the relevant file as context. You don't need to explicitly mention it. It will automatically try to use the open files which are there in our window as part of its context to try to answer your question. Okay, let us try to apply the fixes. The application is reloading. Now there is still some other issue what we are getting. Let us quickly look into that and fix it. So now there is an import error when it is importing data from the file operations util. Let us quickly verify what is going on. Okay, now the application startup is complete after applying all the suggestions what was suggested by GitHub Copilot. Let us assume that we do not know how to test our application. Now again we can ask Copilot to help us. One method what it is suggesting is to access the Swagger UI. It is suggesting to open your browser and go to this particular URL. Now let us do this. Now my UI is up with the APIs what we have defined. The get expense API was created by the Copilot in itself. Let us not worry about it. The create expense API is what we just created by passing all the required detail. Now the example as you see here has 4 different values: description, amount, date and category. It is missing one of the fields what we wanted. We wanted to pass 5 different fields, but there is some bug which Copilot has created, because of which only 4 fields are showing up here. Let us see how we can quickly fix it. So I'm going to look at the schemas what we have declared. So here it has description, amount, date and category. Along with it I'm going to add status as well. Status which is going to be string. Now there should be no other changes which are required here. Let us quickly look at the file operations. So this also would not require any change. The application startup is completed again. Let us go back and refresh our page. So now as you see, the example has updated here. Let us now try to add one of our expense from the Swagger UI. Description, you can add as movie. Let us say we spent 300 rupees on this movie today, and category is entertainment, and status is completed. Now let us try to hit our endpoint to see if it is working. Unfortunately, we got an error with an API as internal server error. Let us see how we are able to fix it. So there is some issue with the file operations where it is raising a type error that something is not serializable. I'm gonna first go and take help from Copilot to see if this can be fixed. So Copilot is able to immediately understand the reason for the failure. The data object has to be converted to a string before it can be JSON serialized. So it has come up with a suggestion to fix it. I'm going to quickly apply that fix. Now the application startup has completed again. Now let us retry our API call one more time. Okay. We are having another issue which we will try to again sort using GitHub Copilot. So because our application failed once, possibly this expenses.json is having some invalid data, because of which further occurrences, further execution of this job is failing. So we have to improve our code to handle such scenarios, and that is what now GitHub Copilot has come up with. So let us accept this suggestion as well. And the application startup has completed one more time. Let us see if third time is lucky. Yes, now we are able to successfully ingest the particular expense, and we see a successful 200 response as well. Let us verify if an expenses.json file was created. Yes, I am able to see one expenses.json file has created with whatever data we entered just in the Swagger UI. One thing which I do not like about this is that whatever data I am sending in input, it is just returning all of that as the output. Rather, I would want the API just to return the ID and not everything else. Now let us ask Copilot to make that change. So now to make this change, here it is returning expense with ID. I am going to use something called inline chat. You have to use Ctrl+I from your keyboard, which opens Copilot chat right between your code. So this automatically uses the code above and below this for its context, and it will be able to give you better relatable answers. So I'm asking Copilot that I want to return just the ID and not the complete dictionary. Let us see what changes it comes up with. So now, as you can see, it has updated the response just to return the ID. So now the application startup is done. Let us try one more time. So now I just sent an expense where I said I used Swiggy and I purchased for 500 rupees. As you can see, I got a response with ID 6. The expense has been added into our tracker. Let us quickly go back to the expense.json if we can see the data. So now as I see, this is various different expenses which I add during this exercise, and the last one, this expense ID 6. Now we have the first API all ready for adding expenses. Now we want to build one API for updating expenses, and we also want an API for deleting expenses as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to start developing an API for updating expenses. As you can see, just as I put the command, Copilot is automatically providing me suggestion. If I want to just accept this suggestion, I have to just hit the tab button in my keyboard, and you can see it is now continuing to suggest me more and more information. I'm just going to accept this suggestion and then make any code fixes as required. Now, in just a second, I was able to build a new API endpoint without writing much of code, but let us quickly verify this. So here I have an update expense endpoint, which basically takes expense ID as an input. So for which expense we want to update it, and it is accepting a whole expense model, and I will be able to update any of the field. Let us assume I don't want the user to be able to update anything. Rather, I want to support only updating the amount. Now let me again invoke the inline chat by clicking Ctrl+I and say user should be able to edit. I can say update only the amount and not other fields. Take only amount as input in addition to expense ID. I will accept this change. As a bug, as I can see, it has duplicated the code, but we will remove the older code. Now let us quickly check what it is doing. So it is now accepting the amount as an argument, as a parameter, I would say. It is reading the existing expenses, and wherever the ID matches, it is able to update that particular amount and then write it back. Again, in this case, it is able to return a message that this particular expense ID has been updated. Now it is also having another return command which is now buggy. Ideally this should happen only if the response does. Now let us accept this change. So it is still not having, it is still not fixed. This code is not logically right. I am going to place my cursor here and then try to ask it to fix this logic. As you can see, in this particular scenario, the Copilot is not able to write code as per our expectation, so we can manually handle this scenario. Now let me declare a boolean expense ID found is equal to false. I do not want to accept the suggestion. As you can see here, it is providing multiple suggestions with this bar here. The first suggestion is something like this, and then there is another suggestion is something like this. I do not want to accept any of these suggestions, so I'm just going to hit the cancel keyboard. So whenever the expense ID is matched, I'm going to change it to true. And if in case the expense ID was not found at all, I'm going to raise an exception that the expense is not found. So this will make our update expense endpoint possibly ready for use. Here the response model is again the expense response, which is perfectly as expected. Let us also quickly add an additional. So in the prompt itself, this time I am being very clear how I want the API to work. I am saying that I want to create a new endpoint for deletion based on expense ID, so that this API will be created accepting expense ID as one of the input. So let us accept the changes. There is some issue. So there is this delete expense endpoint which is added, and it is again checking if the expense exists or not. If it exists, it is going to delete it. Again, it has made the same bug with raising this error. So we are going to apply the same fix what we have done in the earlier endpoint. So with this, all our endpoints should be ready. Let us also quickly verify if this endpoint what Copilot created for listing the endpoints is also fine. So it is get endpoint which is expenses, and it is just returning all of the expenses what we have, and the response model is also perfect. Basically, it's a list of expenses. Now I think with this, all of the 4 endpoints what we wanted to create are ready. But let us once verify that our endpoints are working good from our Swagger UI. Wonderful. So we are having a get expense endpoint. Let us quickly try that out. So the get expense endpoint is currently returning all of the IDs, which is not good. Maybe we wanted to give the expense detail. We will make the code change for that. And we have already verified the create expense endpoint. Let us quickly verify the update expense endpoint. Let us say I want to update the first expense and change the amount to 100. Let us quickly execute it. And I got a 200 successful response. That means my first expense should be updated. Let us quickly go to expense.json and then verify it. Yes. Now for the first expense, I can see the amount is now stored as 100 and the application is working as expected. Now let us go and try to delete the same expense. I'm going to delete the expense number 1. I got a successful 200 response again. Let us verify. Yes. Now as I can see from the JSON file, expense ID 1 has been deleted. Now all our endpoints are working good, just apart from this list expense endpoint. Now what we can do, here we have read expenses method, which is basically returning the complete JSON file. Now what we are going to quickly do is the response model we are going to change to expense. So here so let us create a new pedantic model, list expense response, and this is going to have something like this. We will use this here. Let us quickly verify if our application works good now. Okay, it is not able to import this. Let's see. Application startup is completed after saving the file. Let us again verify our list expense endpoint. So it is now able to list all of our expenses along with this ID. So this is what we wanted. So with this, now let us go back and see what all we have learned. So we have learned some of the slash commands. We have seen how to fix, and we have not seen the other items. We'll come to that. We have also used the inline chat as well. Along with this, we have started to use some of the good practices. We are ready to talk more. So whenever you use GitHub Copilot, it may not be able to write perfect code in the very first attempt, and you have to at times convey in multiple to and fro communication to make Copilot work and help you. We also need to write really good prompts where we explain exactly what we want to do, right? So it's really good that we are progressing and learning a lot of these things. Now it is time for us to understand other slash commands. I can anyway create a new chat if I want to just clear the gutter. I'm creating a new chat here, and then I'm going to use the slash command, and then I'm going to say doc. So I want to generate method level documentation for all of this endpoint. Let us see how it works. So now it has added documentation for all of these endpoints. Let us accept this change. Anytime if any new developer is maybe joining the team, if they do not have clarity on what exactly is happening, they can always use the explain / command to explain the code. So once I use explain, it is asking which method to explain. Let us say we want to explain the delete expense method. So here it is explaining this method. It is saying it is a fast API route handler designed to delete an expense from a collection of expenses based on its unique ID. Here it is providing the definition, what parameters it accepts, and what is the response model, and all of the details whatever required is all provided in this chat itself. As it is an explain command, there is no option to apply any code changes, and it will just explain you about the existing code. You also have an option to view this in the chat, but I'm just going to quickly close it for now. So with this, we just learned about the explain, and we also used the doc as well. So generate is basically to help you generate new code, which we have been doing already. So you can explicitly provide the / command as well to help Copilot understand what you are trying to do. Now with all of the endpoints created, it is time for us to start creating the test cases whatever we want. So let us go back here. So I'm saying @workspace. So this basically instructs Copilot to use all the files which are there in my workspace as part of its context. So it will look at all of the files and provide answers according to that. So I'm asking Copilot to consider my whole workspace so that it understands the code structure, and I'm asking it to create test file and generate test cases for all routes declared in the expenses.py. Here what I'm doing is basically file referencing, so this will help Copilot directly focus on whatever we want it to. So it is now suggesting that we add it to test expense.py. I'm going to accept this change. It will create a new file. So now that we have this file, it has created a lot of test cases. Let us quickly look at how many test cases and what they do. So here there is a test case for testing creation of an expense, one for listing the expenses, similarly for updating the expenses, deleting the expenses, and so on. Let us assume we want to run these test cases. I will open a quick new terminal here. If I just want to know how I can run these test cases from VS Code, I do not know that. What I can do is VS Code will help Copilot basically decide and provide appropriate answers. So now it is suggesting we can run all PyTests in the workspace using the Python, this particular command, and it is suggesting that we ensure that this PyTest has been installed. So here let us try to run all of it. So now we are going to use the other method to run the PyTest as suggested, that we can also go to the terminal and trigger the PyTest by simply using the command PyTest. Let us try that. So let us set the Python path as suggested by GitHub Copilot suggestions, and then we can try to execute our PyTest. Now this has been set. Now let us trigger our PyTest file. So as you can see, 3 of our PyTests have succeeded and 1 has failed. The test update expense has failed. Let us quickly check what could be going on. Test update expense. Okay. So we are marking the expense file here, and then we are passing expenses 1. Let us verify there is no typo. So the update endpoint has indeed accepting only expenses and then the expense ID, what we are passing here. There is no issue with that. Okay, I can see the change. The update endpoint accepts amount as a parameter, but here Copilot is passing it as a JSON or a method body, which is wrong. You can ask Copilot to fix this using again the /fix command. So now the amount has been changed. The request has been changed. Now the amount is being passed as part of the parameter itself. Let's try to rerun our PyTest to see if it is working as expected now. Wonderful. Now all of our PyTest has passed. Now let us quickly go back to see what we have learned. So now we have learned the test / command as well, and now we have started learning some of the Copilot agents as well. We learned workspace, which helps Copilot look at all the code in your workspace and provide answers accordingly. And then we have @terminal, which provides you help which is specific to command prompt or PowerShell terminal, like how to run PyTest, how to run your create your virtual environment, how to activate your virtual environment, and all the other stuff which are related to terminal. You can use @terminal. And any doubts you are having related to VS Code, like how to change appearance of something in VS Code, how to see some particular panel or not, and all of that can be done by using @VS Code. We have done that as well. Now, what we are also doing is parallelly learning some of the best practices. Very important thing is providing relevant context. You might have seen me providing file reference by using the #file option. Whenever you use #file, Copilot is going to consider the contents of that particular file as part of this context and then gonna give you responses. It is very important that we provide context, and we cannot just depend on @workspace every time. If you want relevant answers in a short span of time, definitely we should consider using file references. And also, whatever prompts we are writing, it should be concise. We should not be writing a prompt which is trying to get done lot of things, and it should not be vague. We should be very clear about what we want to do. Like we saw this when we were creating the very first API, the API did not get created as per our expectation. But when we created the second API, it was a little better. And when we created the third API, by the time Copilot was able to understand the structure of this particular repository, and then it was able to easily create the delete endpoint correctly in the first shot itself. So the way Copilot works is personalized. It looks at your repository, it looks at the current structure, how the other methods are built in this repository, and then it is going to build new methods and suggest code changes accordingly. So that is the personalization which GitHub Copilot brings in. So with this, so far we have learned most of the features of GitHub Copilot, and we also have our backend application completely ready. But let us go ahead and quickly revise all of these concepts and build a quick Streamlit UI in another 5 to 10 minutes to test all of this. Let me now go ahead and close this one, and let us go back to chat. Let me create a new fresh chat window. I'm going to close this. I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to download this JSON file from here. So this is basically a JSON of all the different endpoints what I have, what input it takes and what output it gives and things like that. I'm going to store it as expense tracker.json. Okay. Now here I'm going to say, help me create a new Streamlit web application to interact with my backend API hosted locally. Import, what is the port? 8001. The attached file has the open spec JSON. Want functionality to list expense, add, update, and delete expense. Let us see what it comes up with. So it is proposing a proper directory for me. Let me go ahead and accept to create this particular workspace. So it did come up with own API client also, which we do not okay, this is required. It has an API client which is going to talk with the backend API. Wonderful, it is already saying 8001. The endpoints are called API expenses, which may be slightly wrong. I think ours is just expenses. We may need to fix this. Let us quickly fix this thing. Small bug, no problem. So it has a method for getting expenses and adding an expense, updating expense, and also deleting the expense. Right? Wonderful. Let us see what is there in the app.py. So app.py has a lot of options here, and then it has built a UI as well. I'm just going to install the required libraries and then get started. Let me quickly open my terminal. Let me create a virtual environment for this application. The virtual environment is created. Let me quickly activate the same. The virtual environment is activated. Now let me try to run my Streamlit job. Okay, it is not installed because I have not installed all the relevant libraries. Let us take help. Now let us say @terminal install libraries from requirements.txt. So this is the command what it is suggesting. I'm just going to copy this and then run from here. Let us quickly verify the requirements.txt. It has Streamlit and one other library called request. These are required for it. Now let us see where we have. Okay, the required libraries are getting installed, and once that is done, we should be able to start using our UI. For updating the expense, what I can see, it is passing the complete expense data, which is not correct. Our backend accepts only the amount and it does not allow to change everything. This is a bug which we will need to fix. And for deleting expense, it accepts the expense ID, which is perfect. So this particular endpoint is not going to work, so we have to anyway make changes for this. So here we can say as the amount as only and not description. So it has the change, we will accept it. We can delete this around line. So now I believe this should work. Meanwhile, the libraries are still getting installed. Let us wait for these libraries to be installed and then we can further continue with this. Okay, now finally all the required libraries are installed. Let us start our application. Okay, our application is up. Let us hope it does not have any issues. So Streamlit is a really good Python library to help you build quick small web applications with ease. I think the reason why it is not able to work is possibly because we have closed our existing backend server. That is why this is not working. It is dependent on that. So let us quickly make sure our backend server is up and running. And after that, this application should be working as well. Let me quickly start that. So moment of reality. I had to take things in my hand. I had to fix some of the bugs myself. It was a little tough to make Copilot understand what I was trying to say. So some minor issues I was able to kind of fix myself. And I hope the application should run fine now. Okay, list expenses. Okay, finally it is listing expenses, even though in an extremely ugly way, but at least I see it is able to list the expenses. Let us look at other ones. It has a page to add new expenses. Wonderful. And it has a page to update expenses as well as delete them as well. Let us quickly modify the list expenses page so that it doesn't show the data in this form. Let us go back and this time let us see if this guy is going to help us. Copilot. Okay, let me say Copilot. Write the data in tabular form instead of normal string. So I would prefer to see the data in a table instead of a tabular. Instead of a simple string. Let us see whatever changes our Copilot is doing. If it is gonna help, I'm going to rerun. The page is loading up again. Let us see if it is making up a table this time. Okay, wonderful. Finally, I see a table now. This looks a lot better. Now let us verify one of the functionalities. Let us try to delete the entry number 2 of that is expense ID 6. Which is for Swiggy. I'm going to go to delete expense and then I'm going to say delete this. Okay, it says expense deleted successfully. Let us go back to list page and see if it is working as expected. Good. Now it is working. Let us quickly try to add an expense as well. Let me try to add a Swiggy expense back for maybe 1,000 rupees. In the category, let me say dining. And then let me add that expense. Good. The expense got added as well. Now going back to our list expenses page, now I see all of the expenses are showing up. So I hope this kind of helped you get a feel of how you can work with GitHub Copilot. So honestly, I have not seen it work perfectly, all the time. Many of the time it may not give you the right answer or the right code in the first shot. You will have to interact with it, tweak your prompt, learn how to talk with the Copilot to get the best results. So it is not going to completely replace you. It will not be able to replace a developer. It will not be able to build an end-to-end application as of now. Rather, it is going to help you. So what we were building today is a very simple application. You might wonder, hey, I could have built it myself. But think about it. If you are building a really big application, Copilot is definitely going to help save a really good amount of time of yours. It can write a lot of boilerplate code. It can write a lot of test cases and everything. So that way, I hope this Copilot session was helpful for you. So going back and looking at what we learned so far. So we learned how to log in and integrate with VS Code, how we can create a workspace from scratch, how we can use the different chat windows, the separate chat window as well as the inline chat, and different slash commands. What we are seeing in the screen, we were able to learn each one of them. We were also able to use the Copilot agents, which is basically the workspace, terminal, and VS Code. I hope you got an idea of the best practices what you can follow while working with GitHub Copilot.
Hope the video has been helpful so far. I hope we are able to understand how we can use GitHub Copilot to become a better developer. One thing to keep in mind, AI is not here to replace us. Rather, it is there to help us. The key is one thing. We should learn how to leverage AI how to make AI work for you. That will make you a better developer or a better content creator or a better artist or anyone. Irrespective of whichever field you are in, AI can help you make a better and efficient person. That's all I had for the day. Please feel free to share your feedbacks, your suggestions in the comment section. Thank you.